Michael and Jackie here at Valve, and we just saw the Steam Machine, the new Steam controller, and the Steam Frame. 3 new pieces of hardware coming straight from Valve. But I want to start with a big ticket item, and it's the Steam Machine, which is a PC that is essentially a stronger Steam Deck that connects to your TV as if it was a docked Steam Deck. It comes with a lot of the same perks of the Steam OS and the simplicity of figuring out how to play games, but it is now powered to be sort of a set-top box for a more traditional console-like experience. So kind of want to get your thoughts and feelings, Jackie. You've been testing a lot of pieces of hardware. You are our premier benchmarker here at IGN. So I trust your opinion the most when it comes to these sorts of things. How does the Steam Machine make you feel?
Well, I think it's important to note that the Steam Machine is basically just a mini gaming PC that's running Steam OS.
Yeah.
It's got a Zen 4 CPU and RDNA 3 graphics. So it's already quite a step above the Steam Deck. They were telling us that it was like 6 times more powerful.
Roughly, yeah.
The kind of sense I get is that it's like basically like a Radeon 7600. So it's not going to be the most powerful thing on the on the market, but it doesn't need to be given how tiny it is. I mean, this is a box that's like yay big.
Yeah. I kept describing it as if you took an Xbox Series X and then cut it in half.
Yeah, the half Xbox.
Yeah, the half Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the form factor they're working with. This thing is very small. It's smaller than any pre-built PC that you will get on the market. It's smaller than anything you could possibly build in the PC space, even if you use like a mini ITX form factor.
It's fascinating, and obviously, like a lot of engineering went into actually making it fit into that.
It's pretty powerful for the form factor, and I think what they were targeting, as they've said, is that they want to play games at 4K with FSR competently for anything that's out on Steam now.
Yeah.
And of course, that comes with a lot of variability in terms of image quality and frame rate, but I think that that's the base level that they're working with. And of course, you can always tweak settings because this is essentially, a PC running PC games through SteamOS. But that's the kind of power they were targeting, and so that's pretty sizable performance for what this thing is. And as a consequence, most of it is going to be cooling. It's pretty quiet, all things considered. It has a large fan in the back for exhaust, and they don't have to worry about battery because this is not a portable system, so they're able to pack a lot more of that. But I think the thing with the Steam Machine is that it's so simple to use. It running SteamOS and then it integrating with Steam Cloud stuff and being able to use Proton as well. There's a lot of versatility with this, and it's kind of an example of the advancements that they've made on the software side.
I think this is like designed more to be like the desktop version of SteamOS. A lot of people have experience with SteamOS on like a desktop by just like plugging in a Steam Deck or installing SteamOS on their gaming PC. But we saw it in there. That was where it was just like on a monitor with 4 different windows open, and people are going to be able to use this thing like they would a desktop system. So I think it's going to be really easy to like start with, but you're going to be able to do whatever you can with a PC with it, and it's going to be way easier to do that than it was on the Steam Deck, where you had to basically reboot the system to get into desktop mode.
Now, we did get to play games with it as well,
Yes.
so we got to actually see how it performs rather than just talking about it on paper. And I was playing Silent Hill F and was really trying to figure out how to gauge its performance. We didn't really run benchmarks, but we were able to use the Steam OS overlay to give us FPS readings back. And with that as an example of a UE5 game, Unreal Engine 5 game, also Metal Gear Solid Delta, kind of gave me an idea of how it's going to be able to handle that level of that kind of game and the performance expectations that come along with that. And I was running Metal Gear Solid at 1080p, medium to high settings with anti-aliasing on there, or I could go 1440p with FSR. 4K with FSR was a bit of a struggle both on Silent Hill F and Metal Gear Solid Delta, and you would probably have to bring down the settings a little bit more to get playable performance, but you kind of have to determine what's playable for you. And there's still a little tinkering that has to go along with it, but they did mention that they are doing Steam Machine compatibility and verifiability,
Yeah.
the same way that they do that for Deck. So for the folks who might not be in tune with how deep you can go with PC gaming, there will be that sort of seamlessness, or there's a level in which they can figure it out for you, so you don't have to tinker with all those settings. So it's all about trying to make it seamless for people who might not have the wherewithal to dive into PC gaming that way, but also still give room for the flexibility of those who like to do that stuff.
Yeah, I think it's important to highlight that I don't think like there's going to be like the entire Steam libraries immediately on day one going to like have verified badges or not. So there's going to be some level of tinkering that you're going to have to do because again, this is just a gaming PC. But one of the things that happened with the Steam Deck and will probably happen with the Steam Machine is game developers are going to, you know, have updates for their games coming out where they sense that it's running on the Steam Machine and it will automatically select a preset that'll run well on it. They even said they're going to have hooks in the API so that game developers can actually sense that it's on a Steam Machine. So that's how I would expect the seamlessness to come from, because I don't think it's really going to come like right out of the box for most people.
Yeah. Steam Deck definitely, it took time for it to
Yeah.
get there. So part of this whole push to build a Steam ecosystem, not just with the Steam Machine, the Steam controller is a big part of that as well. And we all remember the old Steam controller and how it had some ideas, had some good ideas, but it wasn't quite there. But that led to the controls that you see on the Steam Deck. And then the success of the Steam Deck has now fed into Steam Controller 2, or the new Steam Controller, where you have the trackpads, you have similar button feel, they have the TMR sticks, and all these different innovations are being packed into a new Steam controller that also feeds into the advancements that we now have with SteamOS, and that being an integral part to how you can use Steam Machine as a console-like experience or in a home theater setup. So I'm actually really impressed with the Steam controller, and we both got to use it along with the Steam Machine. And you know, how does it stack up to the rest of the controllers that you use? How'd you feel?
I was surprised because when I first saw it and I saw like where the trackpads were placed on it, like right below each of the you know joysticks, I thought it looked kind of silly.
Yeah.
But holding it's comfortable, and obviously we only used it for
Like 20-ish
collectively,
minutes.
not a very long time. And I think you don't really know a controller until you played on it for like hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's good. It's a big step up from the first Steam controller, which I have a soft spot in my heart for sure, but was not the most comfortable thing to actually use.
Yeah.
This seems a lot better.
Yeah, this is a lot better. Like you said, when I first saw it on the slideshow that they showed us, I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that. Then you get them in your hands, I'm like, oh no, this feels like a proper controller.
Yeah.
It might not look like it, but the way the trackpads are positioned, it doesn't get in the way.
Yeah.
Is what I'll say. So it does feel like I'm holding any other controller. And if you've used the Steam Deck, it feels a little bit similar to that. But there's a lot of more advanced features that take advantage of the capabilities of PC gaming. So for one, they have the trackpads, you can also map them and customize the haptics on them. And you can do a lot of stuff in the back end with Steam Input with what those trackpads actually do. And mapping macros to any of the buttons or any keyboard actions to them. That stuff exists in Steam Input and SteamOS. But now we have a controller that can also take advantage of all those capabilities, and including gyro motion controls and being able to use motion controls as if it was a mouse sensor. I think the use case I did was with Balatro, and I played Balatro with the traditional gamepad mapping. I played it with using the gyro motions and controlling the cursor that way, and how it detects your hand. Whether or not you're gripping it can activate certain things within the controller. So, for example, it wouldn't activate gyro controls unless I had a full grip on the controller. And if I loosen my grip, then it would revert back to normal controls. So the ways in which you can customize that kind of experience is unlike any other controller out there. They also obviously have the infrastructure through Steam itself to do all these sorts of things and make things that people are actually looking for which kind of begs the question of, are people looking for VR? Now, with the Steam Frame coming here, I think that was like the biggest question in my mind.
I'm still a little skeptical, but
Yeah, for sure. But again, it's all part of what they're trying to figure out with like a lot of the controls that we saw on Valve Index also fed into Steam Deck
Yeah.
as well. So nothing is like made in a vacuum with them. And the same thing applies for Steam Frame, which is their new VR headset. It has standalone hardware, but it is also meant to be a streaming device, as in I'm streaming the feed of my more powerful PC directly into the headset itself. And
Yeah.
that's possible through the wireless technology that they have that is really low latency and also is able to feed you the kind of visual fidelity that you need for VR.
So while it is this like new VR headset, I think there are implications beyond VR that make it like a like really fascinating product. It's a full system running on SteamOS, but rather than running on yet another like AMD co-engineered chip, it's running on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, which is a smartphone chip.
Yeah.
It's incredible that they were able to bring Steam to an ARM architecture, but also Proton.
Yeah.
But it just marks this like next evolution in Proton, where they're not only able to translate games from Windows to Linux, but from x86 to ARM, which is huge.
Yeah.
And like that opens up the possibility to just make these like really nice, easy ports of like mobile games, for instance.
Yeah, yeah. I think the level of performance from the internal hardware on the headset that we're expecting isn't gonna like blow anyone away,
No.
and it's not meant, like you said, it's not meant for that. I was playing Hades 2 in home theater mode, and I was kind of impressed with the home theater mode. It looks really crisp.
Yeah, it's kind of like the theater mode on like the Vision Pro, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like that, but I think the lenses, the 2160 by 2160 dual, like obviously dual because you need two lenses in that thing, right?
Right. Unless you only have one eye. I guess.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it looks really crisp, and it was powerful enough to run a game like Hades 2. Of course, that's not like...
It's not saying much.
That's not saying much, but you can play those kinds of games pretty competently just off of the headset alone. But again, like you can also link through their wireless technology, through the wireless dongle, that ultra low latency, and just like play off of your PC in home theater mode.
That
And
dongle is fascinating.
it's the key to all of this.
Yeah. Because like, so I primarily play games on a desktop, even though I've reviewed so many handhelds. When I'm playing like a demanding game, it's probably gonna be on my desktop, and
Yep.
it just like lets me play those games on a like bigger like screen essentially, but wirelessly, and it's able to do this through like a 6 gigahertz dongle that uses this like weird eye tracking technology in order to
Yeah.
transmit the pixels you're actually looking at faster than the rest of the pixels, so that it saves bandwidth.
Yeah, yeah. There's smart ways in which they're handling bandwidth through this wireless connection. I know they talked about foveated streaming,
Yeah.
which is like foveated rendering, like everything you're not looking at, lower resolution. What you are looking at will get higher resolution, better image quality. But now they're able to do that with the streaming feed that is coming from your PC to the headset. So like that is not a developer side thing. That's just a thing that this wireless technology can do. So it makes the VR experience pretty seamless if you're going that way. And I was playing Half-Life Alyx this way, and it was very responsive and it looked great running off of a high-end PC.
Yeah, they showed you it in like debug mode where
Yeah.
it like really highlighted where that like foveated whatever is.
Yeah.
When they turned it off after they showed you the debug mode, were you able to like notice any difference at all?
I tried. Like when they turned the tracking on, I was like, oh wow, this is like very responsive.
Yeah.
And when it turned off, I was trying to catch whether or not I could see the image quality change or whatever. But it's really well done to where like, yeah, I didn't notice anything. I was trying to snap my head really fast around the corner, or I was like moving my eyeballs hella fast. But it's gotten to the point where like the technology is there,
Yeah.
where they can do these sorts of things that make VR a little bit more approachable or smarter in a better like gameplay experience. And of course, with internal tracking as well, you don't have to worry about the lighthouses and setting up your space for that. But that also begs the question, I think we were hinting at earlier, is like, is there room for VR games? Are people looking for VR games? And
I don't know. They certainly keep putting them out, and so there must be people playing them.
yeah.
I don't personally use VR at all, but I don't know. What about you?
I mean, I was with VR at the ground level. I reviewed the Vive and
Right.
the Oculus Rift at the time, and I was always waiting for it to break out. It wasn't until Half-Life Alyx when I felt like this is now the new normal for VR, and I think it could be the next step for it. We've had a couple games here and there in VR that have been like great, like Asgard's Wrath is one of those, but I'm not sure if it's quite at the mass level still to this day, but apparently, you know, with the Steam frame, maybe it changes the conversation, who knows? But if you're looking for VR hardware, this is the state-of-the-art stuff
Yeah,
now, so.
it seems like it. For
Yeah,
sure.
and a lot of that feeds, like, again, like we said, all this feeds into Steam's larger ecosystem where the things you see in Steam Controller are on the new VR controllers, which are, and all the seamlessness is all built into the Steam machine, so all this technology is feeding into each other. So, yeah, I think what they're doing is really smart. Steam Machine is probably the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, but the controller it might be the most useful thing out of all of these. And Steam Frame, I'm still, you know, wondering if it has a place in gaming
Yeah.
today. I think there's smart design decisions like having the battery in the back. With the weight distribution, it's a lot easier to have on for long periods of time. It's comfortable to wear, it's easy to put on, it's easier to figure out. And in a way, I wish these questions were answered years ago, but at least they are now. So those are our initial thoughts of the Steam Machine, Steam Controller, and Steam Frame. And if you want more in-depth analysis, go check out our previews on IGN.com or our videos here on our YouTube channel as well. And if you want everything else covering Steam and Valve's new hardware, stick with IGN.